Some ideas travel without announcements. They move through a workplace, a family, a life, and quietly change what matters. StrengthsFinder 2.0 carries one of those ideas. It says your growth does not start where you are weakest. It starts where your energy returns to you. Imagine what it would mean if the part of you've been told to tone down is the very engine that pulls you forward. What would change if instead of sanding off your edges, you shaped your days around them? Tonight, let's follow that promise and see how it works in real life. How to name what's best in you, invest in it, and aim it with purpose. By the end, I want you to have one sentence you can act on this week. A sentence that turns your inner compass a few degrees and makes the whole map look different. StrengthsFinder 2.0 is by Tom Rath, built on decades of research at Gallup and the pioneering work of Donald Clifton, whose question was simple and radical. What happens when we study what people do right? The book accompanies an assessment that sorts your natural patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior into themes, 34 in all, now known widely as CliftonStrengths. But this is more than a test and a list. It's a way to organize your life around repeatable sources of excellence. In a world obsessed with patching flaws, this message matters because energy is scarce, complexity is rising, and the work that truly sings rarely comes from fixing what drains you. It comes from building what lights you up. If I had to condense the core idea, it's this. Talent becomes strength when you invest in it. And a life built on strength is more sustainable than a life organized around repair. Your greatest contributions will flow from the places where your efforts feel natural, where practice sticks, and where improvement compounds. The book introduces a new vocabulary for how you work at your best. Words like learner, relator, strategic, achiever, empathy, ideation, and responsibility aren't labels to box you in. They're lenses that reveal patterns already present. Think of them like the grain in wood. You can saw against the grain, and sometimes you must, but you'll lose time, calm, and quality. When you cut with the grain, everything moves smoother. The point is not to avoid challenge, but to choose the kind of challenge that aligns with how you are built. Here's a simple example. Imagine someone with learner and input near the top. They collect ideas like seashells and feel alive when there's something new to absorb. In school, that might have made them look scattered. In the right role, it makes them the person who keeps the team on the frontier, scouting, synthesizing, bringing back what's next. If that person tries to compete every day on detailed finish work, their energy leaks. But if they pair with someone whose responsibility and discipline love clean finishes, both people win. One brings the new, the other locks it in. The book keeps nudging you to design around complementarities like this because strengths multiply when they join forces. Another scene. Picture a manager who thinks leadership equals charisma. She believes her quiet, reflective habit is a liability. Then she discovers she's high in intellection and relator. She leads best in deep one-on-ones, where people feel seen and challenged. She stops forcing rah-rah speeches and starts scheduling thoughtful check-ins. Turnover drops, performance rises. The room still gets fired up, but now it happens in smaller circles, with trust thick in the air. Same person, different playbook. The result isn't louder, it's truer. The book makes a crucial distinction. A talent theme is not a strength by itself. It's raw potential. It becomes a strength when you invest, through practice, knowledge, and skill, until the result is consistent performance in a specific task. Think of a guitarist. Dexterity is a talent. Scales, songs, and technique are the investment. The strength is reliable musicality on stage. This is liberating. You don't need to become someone else. You need to become more consistently yourself in ways that actually deliver. So, how do you do that? One of the most useful patterns in StrengthsFinder 2.0 is a 3-part rhythm. Name it, claim it, aim it. Name it means language. You can't steer what you can't describe. Claim it means story. Where has this theme shown up before and what happened when it did? Aim it means application. Where specifically will you use it next week? Without the last step, strengths stay abstract. With it, your calendar becomes a training ground. You put your best patterns in the places that matter most. Let's walk through a few themes and how to aim them. If you lead with achiever, you wake with the quiet need to build something by day's end. That's not just busyness, it's fuel. Aim it by defining what done means before noon. Protect a block for focused execution. Pair with strategic or focus to choose the right targets, and with relator to celebrate wins in a way that bonds the team, not just checks a box. Your reflection prompt. Where does my need to accomplish accelerate the mission, and where does it push me to chase tasks that don't matter? If you have strategic near the top, you see patterns and paths others miss. Decisions feel like roadmaps unfolding in your head. Aim it by giving yourself a few minutes of white space before major choices. Sketch 2 or 3 routes, then pick one and define the first visible step. Pair with communication to narrate the logic so others can follow, and with responsibility to hold the line when trade-offs get uncomfortable. Ask yourself, what fork in the road right now deserves my best pattern recognition? For empathy, you sense the emotional weather in a room like sailors read the sky. It is not softness, it's data. Aim it by choosing when to name what you notice and when to let it guide you silently. Use it to time hard conversations well. Pair with command or self-assurance when the moment calls for a firm edge, so care does not become avoidance. Your reflection. Whose unspoken feeling, if surfaced with grace, would release energy for the work? Individualization notices the unique contours in people. The one-size-fits-all plan never fits. Aim it by tailoring roles, rituals, and recognition. Build a team meeting that rotates formats to match different working styles. Pair with a ranger to orchestrate moving parts, or with consistency to retain fairness even as you personalize. Ask, where am I treating 2 people the same when their difference is the key? Maximizer wants to refine the excellent into the exceptional. The trap is perfectionism. Aim it by selecting a few high-leverage areas to polish and letting the rest be good enough. Pair with achiever to drive progress and with input or learner to bring in techniques from the masters. Reflection. Which 20%, if elevated 1 notch, would change the outcome? Activator turns ideas into motion. You are the spark. Aim it by committing to short cycles. Start, learn, adjust. Pair with deliberative or analytical to avoid reckless starts, and with responsibility to ensure what you begin gets finished, either by you or a partner whose joy is the final lap. Ask, what tiny start could break the inertia this week? A ranger loves complex coordination. You see the puzzle, then move pieces until they click. Aim it by owning the handoffs on a cross-functional project. Pair with communication to keep everyone aligned and with harmony to reduce unnecessary friction. Reflection. What bottleneck could I dissolve by rearranging the flow? There are 34 themes, and the book gives each a language, a set of action ideas, and a description of how it looks at its best and at its worst. That last part matters. Strengths cast shadows. Empathy without boundaries becomes burnout. Command without purpose becomes domination. Ideation without follow-through becomes churn. The point isn't to stop using a strength. It's to calibrate it by partnering, by adding skills, and by aiming with intention. StrengthsFinder 2.0 also reframes weakness. A weakness isn't simply an area you're bad at. It's anything that gets in the way of your performance or your well-being. Sometimes that is a skill gap you must close. Often, it's a task you can route around, a tool you can use, or a partnership you can form. The book encourages you to spend the bulk of your development time where you can be great and to handle true weaknesses with smart strategies. That might mean learning a minimal viable skill. It might mean building a checklist, using tech to automate, or asking a colleague to be the second set of eyes. That's not denial. That's design. Think of a small creative team. One person is high in ideation and futuristic. She keeps seeing what could be. Another brings analytical and deliberative. He tests assumptions and slows the group to avoid preventable risk. A third has communication and woo. She turns ideas into stories people remember. Alone, each would leave value on the table. Together, if they trust and aim their differences, they become a flywheel. The future gets imagined, filtered, and told. The book is full of nudges to build that kind of everyday architecture, knowing who you are, knowing who they are, and choosing work that fits like a well-made tool in the hand. There's a personal angle that runs through all of this. When you work from strength, confidence is not loud. It is quiet and grounded. You feel more like yourself because you are more yourself. Stress doesn't vanish, but you recover faster. Feedback lands better because it's not telling you to become someone else, it's tuning someone you recognize. The return on effort rises, and perhaps most surprisingly, your patience with others grows because you stop expecting oak trees to bear oranges. You start asking different questions. What does this person do almost without trying? How can I set them up to do more of that? If you're listening and wondering where to start without the assessment in front of you, begin with 2 minutes of honest recall. When have you lost time in the best way because you were absorbed? What kinds of problems do people keep bringing you because you're oddly good at them? Which compliments feel like someone is naming a truth you already know? Write down a few answers. Circle the verbs. Those verbs point toward themes. Then pick one place this week to aim them. A conversation, a task, a decision. Make the smallest possible promise you can keep, then keep it. Momentum loves small wins. A word on culture and relationships. Strengths are not permission slips. They don't let you dodge hard growth or excuse poor behavior. They explain tendencies, not destiny. Used well, they create a shared language that makes collaboration faster and kinder. Instead of "why can't you be more like me?" the conversation becomes, "how do we design this so your best and my best both show up?" Families can use the language too. A teenager with competition isn't just trying to beat everybody. They're wired to measure themselves against a standard. You can channel that toward personal records and healthy games. A partner with harmony isn't avoiding conflict out of fear. They value steady ground. You can plan difficult topics at times when there's margin to repair. Language lowers the heat. Let's bring it home. StrengthsFinder 2.0 does not promise an easy life. It offers a true one. It gives you names for your bright threads and invites you to weave them on purpose. Name it, claim it, aim it. Build partnerships that turn jagged edges into interlocking gears. Treat weaknesses like design problems, not shame. Invest where your returns accrue and let the compound interest of aligned effort lift your work, your relationships, your days.
Here are the takeaways to carry with you. First, stop organizing your growth around what exhausts you. Notice where your attention sharpens and your energy returns. Second, remember that talent times investment equals strength. Put time, education, and practice behind what you do naturally. Third, translate themes into calendars. Aim strength at real moments. Fourth, manage weaknesses with strategies and partnerships so they don't run the show. Finally, use the language of strengths to honor difference, build trust, and create results together that no one theme could produce alone. This is not a quick fix. It's the long apprenticeship to your best self. I want to leave you with one clear next step and an open loop. Earlier, I said some ideas travel without announcements. Here's your invitation to let this one travel through your week. In one sentence, tell me the smallest way you will aim a strength in the next 7 days. Put it right in the comments and make it concrete. The moment, the strength, the action. When you write it, you're not just joining a conversation. You're making a quiet promise to yourself, the kind that carries farther than you think. And if you want a companion for the next step, tap the video on the right where we map strengths into daily rituals that stick. Save this episode for tonight and share it with one person who needs permission to build what's already working. Our little circle here is about choosing truth over noise, design over default. Join us.